Welcome to the war. Okay, we're gonna mix things up a little bit today. My interest lately has been piqued with some bolt action. I got a game with some friends the other day, or a couple of weekends ago now. My time flies, but it was really interesting. I think we're gonna play some more in the coming months, but for now, my interest is piqued in playing some Pacific battles. Fairly standard stuff here. We've got some US Marines against some Japanese, and we're going to be playing on a 6x4 board, which is marked by the blue dice border there. So you can see this is basically my table to battle over, using the terrain that I built for Blood and Plunder with the palm trees, etc. But I think it also works here. My other jungle terrain was looking a little bit worse for wear. Yeah, glad I was able to use this. I'll get to the force selections in a moment, but I wanted to talk through the mission that I'm going to be doing. So, as fortune would have it, just the other day, I was listening to the War Games Soldiers and Strategy podcast, which I highly recommend. It's probably one of my favorite wargaming podcasts. Definitely give it a listen. It covers a whole range of different gaming subjects, or miniature wargaming subjects at least. But in the latest episode, they had an interview with someone from the Bolt Action Alliance group and talking about fairness in games and different kinds of missions that were available for Bolt Action. And on further listening, they mentioned having some new scenarios to work with, and they were meant to be incredibly balanced, incredibly fair for both the attacker and the defender, or for both sides, as it were. And I thought I'd give them a try. So we are going to be, or I'm going to be playing the Bolt Action Alliance supply drop mission. First time playing this, first time even reading about this like a couple of hours ago as I was thinking about putting this together. But I'll definitely find, I think, this to be an interesting game from what I understand from the setup. So I'll talk a little bit about that now. So yeah, supply drop, just to give a little bit of fluff or context for this. It says the situation. Supplies are crucial to keep your side in the fight. As the supply plane flies overhead, you scramble to be in position for the needed parachute drop. Unfortunately, you're not the only one to see the plane, and your enemy is also deploying to intercept the drop. All right, so we're going to be chasing after some objectives here. They're not going to start on the table. They show up later, but part of the mission here, the setup, is electing attacker and a defender. Now, I already did that beforehand. So I'm going to have the Americans, or the Marines here, be the defender, and they'll be defending this right side of the table from this side, and the Japanese will be the attacker, deploying from this side. Now, let's see here. Both sides are going to deploy within 6 inches of their table edge, and the attacker deploys after the defender. Yep, and then let's see. We're going to be putting on up to half of our forces within 6 inches of the table edge. Everything else is left in reserve. And for the first turn, we'll put orders in the die bag, and the bag for every unit that is not in reserve has been deployed on the table. And then from turn 2 on, all order dice go into the bag as usual. Okay, so let me talk through the objective a little bit. I am just going to read this verbatim, just because I think it's helpful. So there are no objectives on the board at the beginning of the game. At the start of turn 4, before any dice are pulled, place an objective in the center of the board, and then roll 3 6-sided dice and an order die. Add the results of the 3 6-sided dice, and this will give a distance between 12 and 27 inches. Then place a 40 millimeter objective, I'm going to work with dice for objectives, that far from the center of the board, blah, 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 blah. Then place another 40 mil objective, the same distance from the center of the board on the opposite direction. All right, I'll figure all of that out. But anyway, this process should result in 3 objectives being deployed in a line across the table. If an objective is okay, we'll figure all that. The aim is to hold the most objectives at the end of the game. To claim an objective, there must be a model from one of your infantry or artillery units within 3 inches of the objective, and there should be no enemy infantry or artillery models within 3 inches of the objective. You can only claim 1 objective at a time. The game duration. At the end of turn 6, roll a die. 1, 2, 3. The game ends. 4, 5, 6. Play 1 further turn. And victory is whoever controls the most objectives. And if no side controls any objectives, or both sides control an equal number of objectives, The game is a draw. Okay, that was a lot. And I'm probably gonna try and put up an image of all of that too so you can see it. So hopefully I remember to do that when I'm editing this. But anyway, all right, let's take a pause here and look at the two forces we're gonna be playing with. Okay, so full caveat, these aren't meant to be absolutely killer, meta crushing game lists. They're just things I think are fun. So I know there are better options or interesting options, but I enjoy playing the force like this. So with that being said, we've got, let's see, in command, we've got a second lieutenant here. He's got one person with him, one extra person with him. He's rated veteran. Then we've got 3 units of grenadiers, each 1, 2, 3. Each one of them contains an NCO and 13 soldiers and includes 1 light mortar. Each, you can see on the pill-shaped bases there. And they've also got anti-tank grenades. So they do have the Tank Hunters special rule. Now, my typical way to play, I really enjoy playing Japanese, is just to pound everything forward, which is not ideal when you've got light mortars in the case, but I like using them as well. So we'll see where that goes with that. That's sort of the rationale behind that. Let's see, then over here we've got a unit of bamboo spear fighters. We've got 10 of them. They are rated inexperienced, and then a medium machine gun. Oh, forgive me, sorry. These are all rated regular, so they're all regular units. That we've got, and then over here we've got a medium machine gun, also regular. I'll skip over here. 2 inexperienced suicide anti-tank teams, individual guys there. We've got an Air Force forward observer and a regular Chiha medium tank right here. Probably quite ineffective, but again, I always like the Japanese tank paint scheme. So that's everything we've got on the Japanese side. I want to be remiss to say this all adds up to, just shy of 1,000 points. They've got 995 points there. So then over to the Americans with the Marines. Yeah, this is a 999 point list, and it wasn't until I built it, put it all together, printed it, that I realized I'd made a pretty big error with my commander, who's this guy here. Yes, he's on his own, and he's also inexperienced. So he's going to be, I think maybe this is a little more thematic for most people's taste, but I think it could be quite interesting or fun just to see how that plays out. And then we've got our 3 units of 10 guys each. They're all rated veteran. I do, again, enjoy somewhat, I know maybe it's a little too Hollywood, but I enjoy tooling them up, I should say. So they've got all kinds of fun things. And each unit is equipped with 2 submachine guns, 4 rifles, 3 shotguns, and a BAR on the end there. So they've got a unique mix of weapons there, quite a lot of firepower. And then we've got a unit of 6 raiders, again, veteran. They've got 3 rifles and 3 submachine guns. Let's see, we've got a medium machine gun over here, also rated veteran, a veteran medium mortar, a veteran flamethrower. We've got a medic, and then we're going to be bringing on a 75mm Sherman. The Sherman is rated regular, so they're outnumbered, but not outgunned. They've got plenty of firepower, and hopefully this will make for an interesting game. So there are the 2 forces. I'll figure out how I'm going to divvy up the first or the initial deployments for each of them, and get things deployed, and then we'll get started. Okay, deployment's complete. Let's start with the Marine side. So for each side, you have to elect up to 50% of your force, and I elected to use points rather than the number of units to establish that, and this being a 1,000-point game on each side, looking at around 500 points a side to deploy, so, or up to 500 points, I should say. So I went pretty much right on the nose with the amount of points I used to deploy for the Americans. So I deployed all of the main infantry units. So we've got the 1 unit here, the 2nd unit here, and the 3rd unit here, all roughly in the center of the board. And I also put the commander and the medic on there as well. So they've got a pretty good initial, I think, way to scramble for any of the objectives once they come on. They'll be coming on in a later turn. But I think, as you can see, they're certainly en masse right now. So moving over to the Japanese, I really pondered this and thought I'd try something different. I really wanted to go for quite a minimalist deployment to start with. And I had initially just deployed the tank over here, the observer or the artillery operator there, and the machine gun over here. But then on second thought, I realized having quite, well, at least 3 units that are inexperienced is going to be a little bit of a challenge to bring those on in reserve in later turns. So I did bring on one of the suicide anti-tank teams here, and the unit of bamboo fighters over here. So, and again, the plan, I think, is to definitely keep them as safe as possible for now. And I did keep the other suicide anti-tank guy off the table now, just I think a little bit of an X factor to see what he could potentially do. So that's the initial deployments for each side. I'm going to start pulling dice now for turn 1, and we'll get going with the game. Okay, a pretty quiet turn 1. Let's see, the only real action of the game was the Japanese tank over here fired at the unit of Marines here in the woods, but to no effect. Outside of that, let's see, this unit of Marines ran to the entrance to the building. They didn't quite have enough range to get inside it, but that's likely their plan in the next turn, sort of getting some cover there. The other unit of Marines, as I mentioned, was in the woods along with the commander and the medic. They're hiding at the back. And then the other unit of Marines over here behind the cover of the woods, aiming to get a little bit of protection from the Japanese machine gun that I just precariously positioned on the top of the building. But they ran into the building and have a pretty good field of fire over there. Then, again, playing pretty conservatively for now with the bamboo spear fighters. They're hiding behind this set of woods, and the one suicide bomber that's on the table is in these woods here. I'm almost certain, I'm going to forget that there's a model there. You cannot see him too well. He's very well camouflaged model. And then, I did move the artillery observer over here because I think it's going to give him a better line of sight to those 2 buildings on either side, or even 3 buildings on either side of the woods there, for him to call in his bombardment when the time comes. But that time's not just yet. I think the Americans are still a little spread out for that kind of action. But anyway, we'll move on to turn 2. From this turn, all the dice are going in the bag. So we'll be bringing everyone else on the board as well. And I thought, just to keep things simple, for myself, if not for anything else, I'm not doing any flanking moves. Everyone that's in reserve is going to come off from their respective edge. So let's move on with turn 2. End of the second turn, and this was really defined by the failure, I think, definitely of the Japanese to be successful in bringing on too many reserves, and the Americans didn't fare much better either. So just to outline, initially, both of these large units of grenadiers for the Japanese failed to materialize, as did the commander, as did the suicide bomber. And then for the Americans, the unit of raiders weren't able to come on, and the heavy machine gun wasn't able to, the medium machine gun was not able to come on. However, it wasn't completely fruitless. So let's get down to the action. The Japanese, in terms of dice pulling, definitely got the drop. Initially, the heavy machine gun here shot at the unit of infantry that was here, inflicted 1 casualty, but they were able to shake off their pin, and they ran into this building here. They're now marked by this chap on the building here. Similarly, the tank for the Japanese was able to roll over and shoot at the unit of infantry that was initially here, now in this building. Also, same thing, inflicted one casualty, but they were able to shake off the pin and run into the building with a successful order. The American tank, the Sherman, came on, fired at the Chiha, but was not able to hit it. And then let's see, the unit of this unit is staying put right now, hiding in the trees or benefiting from their cover. The commander or the lieutenant and the medic both moved up to the front of the tree line there. Let's see, over here. I did have a conundrum with what to do with the mortar team for the Marines, but I do think that machine gun in the building is going to prove troublesome. So I thought that might be a good point to range in on, because I don't think that machine gun's gonna move a whole lot. And then elsewhere, let's see now, over on the Japanese side, the bamboo spear fighters advanced into the woods. The one unit of grenadiers that was successful in coming on was given a run order and is running over on this side, staying put with the suicide anti-tank guy there. And then I've just got the observer, who I moved back, did call in his airstrike, and it's centered around that building there with the marker. So we'll see at the beginning of the next turn whether that's successfully going to come in. I think that could cause quite a bit of trouble for those surrounding units if it does. But again, these things are very unpredictable. So let's move on to the third turn. Let's see what happens. An eventful turn 3, just the level set. Now the only unit that hasn't made it on the table for the Americans is the machine gun. Still reluctant to make an appearance, but would sorely be needed. And then for the Japanese, as predicted, this inexperienced suicide anti-tank team or individual is not rolling his order dice the way he should. So outside of that, let's talk about the main event, which was the airstrike, which successfully came in and caused a whole number of pins on its strafing run, putting 2 on the Sherman and several others across units, and then did some pretty serious damage to the unit in the building. They're actually now down to five men left, so they've lost 4 riflemen and a shotgun carrying infantrymen. So yeah, they're in pretty bad shape. Other than that, let's see. The tank was able to fire. It shook off a pin, but missed, and consequently the Chiha over here basically backed up and fired at point blank range into the unit in the building here. And also inflicted just one casualty there. Outside of that, in return, this unit fired with having very limited targets, really kind of just hunkering down, fired at the suicide anti-tank team in the woods here, to no effect. And then let's see, the unit that was in or is in here did actually managed to pass an order test and fired at the machine gunner. So did the mortar, but again to no effect, but they are now ranged in. You can see that there. Elsewhere, the flamethrower has run up behind the woods here. The Raiders made an appearance. They are closely followed behind. And I think both of these units are going to need to pull some tricks out of the bag to stop this absolute deluge of fanatical Japanese soldiers. Both the 2 units here and here, as well as the bamboo spear fighters that are here. Let's just talk quickly about the second lieutenant. He was able to move. He just wanted to get out from the woods, get into some cover, or behind some cover along with the medic, but he did use a snap to it order to move this unit to this side of the woods, and they did inflict 1 casualty on this unit of grenadiers there. Elsewhere, let's see, the Japanese commander has come on. He's here. This gives him a useful position. This unit ran this unit stays put. This unit ran onto the board, as did their counterparts on this side. So there's a heavy concentration of forces here. I don't know if you can see that. I'll try and get it all in. Let's see, I think that's pretty much everything that happened here so far. It is going to be an interesting fourth turn. We'll get that started, and obviously at the beginning of the turn, the objectives are going to make an appearance, and I think that's going to have a pretty pivotal impact on the battle. So let's see where those objectives drop. Here they come. Okay, turn 4, and first of all, let's break down how the objectives fell. So I rolled a maximum, or including the 9 inches that you add automatically. The objectives are separated 18 inches apart. So you can see marked by the blue dice, there's one here, there's one there, and there's one here by the red dice. So as luck would have it, they fell almost kind of in a parallel line with the table. This, I think, really neither favors either side as far as how the objectives fell. However, let's talk a little bit about now how I see each side playing out their strategy. In terms of this objective on the left for the Marines, the one unit they've got over here really that can contest it is the unit that's in the building. They're still in fairly good shape even after this turn. They just need to hold on, I think, another turn or two, and then have the ability to run out. Only infantry and artillery units can contest or hold objectives, so that puts them in a good position if they can just hold on from the shooting from the tank, if that's what the tank proceeds to do. In the center, this is, I think, is the main, let me come around this side. I think this is gonna be the most hotly contested objective. It's close enough so that anyone in that building can hold it. However, I'll get to that. The Japanese poured absolutely everything into that building. So that one's pretty tightly contested. And then over here, this one, I mean, I think this could also go either way. At least currently, there's a pretty significant mass of bodies over here that could fight over that one. So anyway, let's talk a little bit now about how the turn played out. Gonna be honest, it is not looking good for the Marines. So first things first, the dice out of the bag. The Japanese got pretty lucky with getting a lot of early rolls, and what they basically did, the machine gun here, poured everything into that. This unit and this unit both fired into here. They are now down to 1 man. The bamboo spear fighters have come out of the woods. They're also looking to cause trouble on that side. And then the 2 anti-tank teams, suicide mine bombers, are the other one came on the table, you can see on the left there, and then the one on the right is getting cover or light cover from the tower there, but is still outside of the range of the tank to charge at least in the next turn. However, who knows what will happen in the next turn. For the Americans, definitely a different side of things. A lot of, well, let me just back up. Well, I feel like the Japanese are really just throwing everything forward in one sort of big mass. The Americans, both, I think, with their lack of numbers, even more so now they've taken a beating, but also just the difference in how each unit is equipped is really, I feel, really starting to take effect. So yeah, as I said, this unit is holding tight in the building. The commander and the medic holding safely behind the building there. I could see the commander certainly popping out to shoot at that anti-tank guy there. I could certainly see that. The machine guns on the on the Sherman poured into that unit. You can see over here and inflicted a few casualties. This unit of infantry was able to do that here, and then interestingly, first of all, the medium machine gun came on and I think has a good field of fire. If they get an early dice, that will be useful for them. But the most critical point, I think, is if the Americans get a dice, they're going to use it with the flamethrower. They're going to have to. And this might be this It's pretty reckless on my part with the flamethrower, but desperate times call for desperate measures. So outside of that, over here, the Raiders that come around this side, I think they did inflict one casualty on the bamboo spear fighters, but they're gonna have to get up close and personal pretty fast. And then unfortunately the mortar back here still ranged in on the building with the machine gun on it, but wasn't able to do anything. But in the next turn, they're only gonna need, well, they're gonna need a 4 to do any damage there. So gonna move on to turn 5. Really interesting game. I think this next turn is gonna be pretty messy. Let's see what happens. Turn 5, and the Japanese have absorbed some serious casualties, but they're still definitely in the fight. So first of all, yes, the Japanese got the drop in terms of pulling an order dice, and the bamboo spear fighters assaulted the flamethrower that was here. That was a really foolish move, I think, of me to rush the flamethrower up like that. Anyway, they were rapidly taken out. Meanwhile, the machine gun that was here, the medium machine gun, inflicted a number of casualties on the spear fighters, and then the Raiders came in and basically finished the job in that respect. Outside of that, the unit of Japanese Grenadiers was able to assault in the lone Marine in the building, causing a casualty there. And now there's a handful of Japanese Grenadiers in the building. Now, that being said, they took fire from this unit. The lieutenant threw in a couple of shots with his SMG, and the Sherman poured in all of its fire into the building. So they are in a dire spot in that respect. Over here, the Chiha continued to pour machine gun fire and its light howitzer into the building, but the Marines just rallied off the pin markers that they were getting there. So that was really to no effect. And then we've got, let's see, we've got one, where did that bomber go? Hang on, let's go around the other side. Both bombers have moved up, with the anti-tank teams. Oh yes, they're both hiding behind buildings. One is here and the other one is on this side. So they're both potentially gonna cause problems for the Sherman. They're both definitely within 12 inches to be able to run over there. The mortar in the top left of the screen there has still failed to range in a shot on the machine gun. The machine gun has been pouring shots into this unit of Marines here. The medic's been helping as much as they can, but it's slow going there. I think they're gonna probably have to assault the building in the next turn and hopefully get some cover. I think that is an assault that favors them somewhat. So, but then if we've got this, I think nearly complete, if not fully complete, unit here with the commander right behind them. They are holding that objective. You see the blue dice on the left there. So yeah, we're gonna come down to turn 6. I think this could still swing either way. Both sides have options, I think, that could lead to victory. And let's see how it all shakes out. On to turn 6. Okay, turn 6 recap. And I think this has been fairly cataclysmic for the United States forces. So first things first, the Japanese got the drop pulled the first dice, and one of the suicide anti-tank teams ran out from the side of the building there and inflicted damage on the tank and took the tank out for the Sherman. And I really kind of hummed and hawed over, should it use its defensive fire to shoot the attacker, coming in from the assault, but I elected not to, just hoping it could survive. And then I did the math on how much damage that mine does, the anti-tank mine does, and it was just it was never going to work out. So that was not good. Let's just start there. Now, second of all, I also realized, and I'm doing things out of order, but these suicide anti-tank teams count, as far as I can read in the rules, or as they're listed as infantry teams. So they're able to claim objectives, and I run this one over to hold on to that objective. Meanwhile, the tank here shot again into the building, put a pin on it, and then that unit who I was counting on running out to capture that objective, the red dice there, failed their command check or morale check, orders check, I should say, to get over there. So that's been fairly disastrous on this side of the table. Now over here, everything on the Japanese side poured fire into this unit here. They've now got 4 pins on them. They were also unable to pass their order check, so they've been ineffective. The mortar right here did finally get its attack to hit the medium machine gun and inflicted 1 casualty and 2 pins, but I have a real feeling that that's too little too late. Now, this objective here, the Grenadiers took a couple of casualties from the medium machine gun here, shooting at them, and then the Raider squad, which is now down to 1 man, I'll explain that in a second, also inflicted a couple of casualties, but again, not looking good here, because the lieutenant for the Japanese forces moved into the woods and then fired into the Raiders and inflicted 2 casualties. So that, again, not looking good at all here. And then just to rub salt in the wound, the last less than a handful of Grenadiers that are in this building shot the lieutenant, the inexperienced lieutenant. So he's also out of action. So that all being said, this was the end of turn 6, and now we roll to see if there's another turn. And as it stands, the Japanese are in control of 2 objectives. They've got this objective here and this objective here. And again, subjectively, this is my understanding of the rules, that this guy can hold an objective. Even if he can't, the Japanese still firmly control this objective. So they'll win 1 anyway. So you know, I open to corrections there, but I'm gonna roll the dice. I'll do it live. 1 to 3, and the game is over. 6. All right, we do have another turn. Great. Let's see how this shakes out. Again, doesn't look good at all for the Americans, but maybe they can pull something out of the bag here. Let's see. Okay, wow, this was a pretty epic final turn. So I'll go objective by objective. First things first, with this one here, the Grenadiers were easily able to overcome the last remaining Marine Raider that was there, so they firmly hold that objective. However, the objective here that you can see, the Marine infantry unit that was here passed its rally check or its orders check, and it had 4 pins on it at the time. It passed the check, assaulted the remaining 3 Grenadiers in the building, overcame them, and now they control that objective. So it's tied 1 apiece. Meanwhile, the mortar was able to finally take out that machine gun that was in the building there. So at the end of the game, that was gone. And then the final objective, the Marines over here were able to overcome their pin. They had 2 pins on them, and assaulted the anti-tank mine guy that was there, and they hold that objective. So an absolutely brutal battle, but definitely one that if it had ended at 6 turns, the Japanese would have won, but it went for an extra turn, and the Americans were able to pull it off. So you can see the casualties all over here. Everything that was taken out or removed from play for the Japanese, and then everything that was removed from play for the Americans. So an absolutely brutal battle for both sides. But interestingly, there are a number, I know I made a number of probably risky or reckless orders, but it was an interesting game for me because I've solo played with my Marines against the Japanese many times, and it's always interesting to me that the Japanese just sort of come on in a big wave, a big clump, just looking to get that charge off and overwhelm, frankly, their opponents. But this game, it really didn't play like that. It didn't seem to be really in the Japanese's interest to do that. I feel like I did a lot more shooting with their rifle squads or the Grenadier squads than I would ever normally do, but maybe that was just the way the terrain's laid out for this game. And then, yeah, I feel just in terms of like, there's quite a lot of chance and dice pulling and dice rolling and unusual things happening. And I think in Bolt Action in this, and I do feel in this game that things dice roll wise definitely went against the Americans. They did not have very particularly successful dice rolling in the game. But anyway, it looks like it all worked out in the end. Maybe that extra turn dice roll was the only one that mattered. So now that being said, I also just want to give again a shout out and recommendation to the Bolt Action Alliance, and the mission itself was incredibly fun, and I think well balanced, which from what I understand with the War Games Soldiers and Strategy podcast interview that they did is really the objective or the point of these missions and scenarios. And I highly recommend for anyone that's looking for something different to give that one a try. And I'm excited to play some other ones from the pack that they put out of different scenarios and setups. So yeah, that all being said, I hope this was entertaining to watch. It's always interesting. I know this game, I know I'm going to get comments that, you want to see dice rolling, you want to see the dice being pulled out of the bag. I just find it, solo gaming this and doing that is just quite a challenge for me, doing it all together. And on top of that, just coming up with the various kind of tactical, insights and things. I know there were a couple of things I probably could have done differently. It probably would have, I'm just rambling now, but it probably would have made sense to put the tank in ambush to shoot that unit as soon as it came out. Like that's something I was thinking about doing. And I know that running that flamethrower over there was quite foolish. Probably could have taken out the machine gun a little more efficiently. Did it make sense that this tank got attacked so easily? Really, yeah, lots of different things I probably would have done differently. But hey, that's the benefit of hindsight, right? And just really my style of play. I like just going for it. So anyway, I hope this was fun to watch. It was fun to play for sure. And thanks for watching.